to talk about oh, what was that last thing? I already mentioned money. Voice. Voice. Actually, let's start with voice. We'll do some vocal drills. I also have a really powerful Kriya I can sneak in there. But until we get to all of that, definitely let me know what's going on with you. We're in a time of radical transformation and shift happening in the external reality and even our internal reality. A lot of what we're doing is we're revealing ability that we have to create all things. And that responsibility is offering stress for us to grow into this new sense of self. What are your thoughts on Gaza? I actually have no thoughts on that. I'm not the person for that. That's not the realm I'm operating in. And you can say what you want about that, but that's where I'm at. How can you help me to heal from breast tumor? So the first thing is to get yourself in line. So when it comes to these, we'll call them diseases. Wow, thank you guys. I see a lot of questions here. Get yourself in line. Where are you still holding on to grudges? Where are you still holding on to hate, regrets, blame? And start to think about your physical expression as a manifestation of your whole self, your whole identity. And if you're out of alignment with your thoughts, with your feelings, with your emotions, within the construct of your life, then your physical expression is going to have some disalignments, and they can come up as challenges like diseases. And so definitely start with self. And from there, that'll lead you on a journey where the next step will reveal itself. So the first step is to make sure that you're not carrying with you attachments to destruction, because you inevitably will be destroying your own life, your own body through that. My voice is so weak at times. Is that a spleen issue? Thoughtware update in full effect. A lot of times we need to and we get to express our voice. So we can start with our tongue. If you guys just start taking your tongue and moving it all around, we actually did this in this week's self-expansion practice. Start moving your start moving your tongue all around your mouth, outside of your teeth. Push it as far as you can. You might feel some restrictions. I start feeling restrictions here. And you can start to follow that restriction into your mouth, but try to keep your jaw relaxed as you're circling around. And what we actually did in this week's self-expansion practice, if you go to selfexpansion.app Instagram page, you got more information about that. But we took a breath in, and then we rotated our tongue as far or as long as we can with the breath hold. And then we exhaled, and then we went in the opposite direction. It was like 80% of our maximum breath hold. And we kept on repeating that. And you'll start to see your tongue loosen up. Another thing that you can do is actually play with your vocal cords by using your voice through doing different projections. So imagine the sound or the word soon, SOON, and start at the top, soon. And you'll actually feel yourself expressing your vocal area deeper. Soon. 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 There's a lot of voice There's a lot of, and then you have a little bit more depth and power in your voice if you open up. So your voice is just like your body. If it's restricted, it's going to get more and more restricted. And then you use less and less and less of it. And then you have less and less and less capability to express your voice. So express, because expression etymologically is the opposite of depression. All right. How can people trust you when you turn a blind eye to murder? How can people trust you when you turn a blind eye to murder? I'm I mean, I don't know if it's a blind eye. I also don't know if it's murder. I'm telling you, I don't have any thoughts on it because it's not. It could be happening, definitely. You see, there was a time in my life where warrior type energy was rampant, and I would be much more interested in aspects of reality like that. And there's a lot of people who are interested in that right now, fighting, um, jousting for dominance, and there's countries happening. It's getting also really confusing to when you start looking into it, like all of the different aspects of all the different angles, who's murdering who. All I know is that when I walk through a forest, I do see snakes eating rabbits and rabbits eating plants and plants eating the carcasses of the deceased animals, and the bugs eating other bugs, and the birds eating other birds, and the birds stealing the eggs from one bird and eating it, and birds going and picking worms out of the ground, chewing them up, swallowing them, regurgitating them to their own animals. And so when I look at the human species as a function of nature, and this is my own perspective that I'm not saying is any sort of more enlightened or smart or right than anyone else's perspective. When I look at the human species and I see this war and this chaos and this rape and this rampage around, I ask myself the question, not just how is this wrong? Because that's easy to see. I look at it and I say, how is this perfect? How is this perfectly happening? Because if it wasn't perfectly happening, then it wouldn't be happening. And that's where my contemplation exists. And am I privileged enough to have that contemplation? Yes, I am. I'm living here where the war isn't currently like it is in other parts of the world. However, we are definitely being attacked, bombarded from the sky, from the food supply, from the television. The school system is brainwashing our youth. The, it's a constant agenda, a constant washing machine that us humans are going through. Some of us are experiencing physical danger. Some of us are experiencing sexual danger. Some of us are experiencing suffering in many different ways. And my role is currently in the lane of lifting people up, offering them support for their self. How can you relate with yourself in a way that you can manage the chaos that we're living in right now? How can we be more complete human beings so that we can make proper decisions to support our own self evolution, to add to the evolution of this living planet that is self consuming itself, just like all other natural systems do? That's where my focus is. It's not on the wars, it's on the self. And so that's the answer to my question is it's not an ignorance, it's a focus. And so my focus right now is on self education. expansion of self, expanding people's concept of self so that things like death and destruction and war, I don't know if it's right or wrong, but if it's wrong, what is right, right? And if enough of us are in a place of power where we're choosing the greatest expression of ourself, things like that, death and destruction, won't exist. And so that's my experiment right now. That's my experience. Adding to the new creation so that we don't have to focus on destroying what is now. Because destructive energy is never going to fix destructive energy. It's just going to continue to add to it. We're creators. The only thing that we do is create. And so are you creating more wrong things like that's wrong, or are you creating what you envision to be the greatest expression of not everything out there, but of self? I know a lot of people are pointing fingers and their life is in chaos. Their life is in shambles. It's a lot easier to clean up, to tell somebody else to clean up their mess than it is for us to clean up our own mess. How do I know when this is no longer a fruitful evolutionary experience? Like it's time to leave an experience when I'm still young here? Do I honor the feeling of leaving the physical? Interesting question that I feel like is great for you to be aware of. It's great for you to be aware that this is a choice that you have. And when the focus is, how do I look at the way that the sentence is structured? How do I know when this is no longer a fruitful evolutionary experience? Like when it's time to leave an experience, even when I'm still young here. My advice on this is to listen to your heart. Turn off the TV. Guys, if you go take a walk this morning, my wife and I, it was raining a little bit. We went to this trail and we took a walk. There was no city. There was universes of plants and animals and rabbits, and you could hear the insects, you could hear the birds, you could feel the wind. There's rain coming down. You could smell the foliage. You could smell, okay? You guys who live in cities, you might forget that things like plants actually have an essence. There's the flowers that most definitely have a fragrance, but the actual leaves, the plants are sending chemicals into the air, and that's structuring the air. It's going into your body. This is, if you want to go to the science route, it's definitely been proven scientifically to reduce things like anxiety, depression, stress. If you turn off the TV, you quit listening to the distraction energy of what's telling, they're telling you what to pay attention to, guys. I don't watch TV. Things like the wars that was brought up earlier, guys, I'm living here. That's not happening. It doesn't mean that I'm ignorant of it. It means that I'm conscious of what's going on around me. I produce content that goes on the internet and goes out. I do very little inputting of what's on my devices. I find that it's not adding to the life experience to do that. And that would be my invitation, is figure out why you feel that it's not fruitful. Are you in an environment that's not fruitful? Start there. Rather than ending your life, start with, is this moment not fruitful? What can I do to make it fruitful? Choose the next moment of fruitfulness. Don't choose to notice why it's not fruitful, because that's you choosing into that. This is your responsibility, your ability to respond to the choice that you have in every single moment of every single moment. Choose, turn off the distractions, turn off what somebody else is telling you to worry about. go into a neutral environment, like separate from programming. The city's programmed for an agenda. It leads you into the chaos. I wish I had time to dive into this. Any spiritual or other reason for mother needing to deliver a stillborn at 7 months pregnant? Karmic cycles, wondering how I can heal from my recent experience. Thanks. I've experienced miscarriages. That child is an entity that you are meant to relate with, and you did relate to it. It came here for 7 months, and now there's lots of philosophies on what actually happens there with the spirit, with what's going on. Is it still around? Is it a guardian angel? And that's up for you to make a decision on. This experience that you're going through is for you. And I'm not the one going through it, so I'm going to be very careful at giving advice here. Wondering how I can heal from my recent experience. Again, there's many different ways you might need more information, you might need to talk to people. There's Facebook groups, there's actual other people that have gone through the experience. And I feel that that's up for you to make that decision when you're ready. There's trying again, there's books. It starts with the egg is off the top of my mind of one of them that could help with trying again. Why, when you think you have worked through your childhood trauma, you get chronic pain that you cannot get rid of? How much can one take? You are strong enough for this. Life is not meant to be easy. We're not here for perfection, guys. We are distortions of perfection. Perfect light, full light comes in and it breaks apart into a whole bunch of different fragments. And that is us. So our thoughts aren't everything. Our mind isn't everything. Our body isn't everything. We are aspects of the whole. And within those aspects are variations. And that gives us our life experience, because us being a variation of the whole, we bump into other people, other things, other experiences that are also variations of the whole. And together we combine and we create a new experience. And that's the whole purpose. And so some of us are tall, some of us are small, some of us have a beautiful voice, while some of us run really fast. Some of us are creators, artists, writers. Some of us are warriors, kings, queens, jokers. Some of us are the villains. We're all the villains, actually, in somebody else's story. Did you put that together? We're all a villain. It's not out there. We're a hero and a villain to someone. And so just know that you're strong enough to handle what you're going through. And this is here for you to go through it. It doesn't end with you. You are interacting with everybody else. You're interacting especially with your children and your future children as well. And the lessons that you learn, even if they're hard, are going to be integrated into the ascension of this planet. How can I grow back my hair? Thank you. Don't really have a good answer for that. Usually, the first thing when it comes to people asking that question, the first thing is acceptance. Accept that you're losing your hair. First and foremost, you have to detach from the frustration of it happening to have any sort of platform of hope to go in a direction of harmony. Harmonize with your situation, no matter what it is. Guys, if you go and read stories of people in concentration camps who are able to harmonize with their situation and feel hope in a hopeless situation, or kids that were born with no arms and no legs that were able to be grateful for their life. It's possible for you to detach your feelings on a few strands of hair coming out of your beautiful head. Very few of us are going to go out like we looked when we were 17 years old, or even 22, 23 years old. Very few of us will go out looking like that at however old you're going to be. And that could be my own creation, right? But it is. It's all of our creations right now. We are, it seems, I don't know anyone who's not aging, but it seems like this concept of linear time is still happening despite all of our wishes for infinite time here. I feel that death is a beautiful thing. It's taught to us to be avoided at all costs. If we avoid death, then nothing flourishes. Death is a healthy aspect of life. If you go into that same forest, you will see that you are actually walking on death. You pick up that earth and you look closely at it, you'll see little bits of different types of plants, maybe even some bone fragments that you don't even know because they're so broken down. You're going to see death. Without things dying, there is no life. And we're part of that cycle physically. And so being attached to the physical body as if it is the only part of you is going to lead into some sort of weird YOLO type life, and also a fear, a massive fear of graduating this physical existence. Again, my perspective is not any more right than anyone else's or enlightened or spiritual. I'm not claiming any of that. Aligning with the infinite is a beautiful thing, and you'll know it when you get there. Which of you nose sides is more dominant when you hum through your nose? Do you notice a different tone on each side? Scott, that's a good question. So there's something called ultradian rhythms. Let me see if I can, where our body goes through cycles right here. Ultradian rhythms are biological cycles that repeat throughout the day with periods shorter than 24 hours. So you guys are familiar with circadian rhythms, which are 24-hour cycles. And then there's also infradian rhythms. Infradian rhythms are longer than 24 hours. An example of that would be the menstrual cycle. So ultradian rhythms, one of them is our nose switch nostrils throughout the day. Right now, I'm dominant in my left side. And to answer your question, Scott, no, I haven't. And there's also plugging your nose, which you can do. Mm. So I don't actually know which nostril is more dominant, but I know which eye is. So you guys want to know how to find your more dominant eyeball? So this is important in archery because you're going to be using the bow on one side. Most people think that it's your dominant arm side, but actually, how I was taught at least, it's your dominant eye side. And so you need to figure that out first so you know which side to hold the bow on. And so, in order to find your dominant eye side, you make this little triangle here with your hands and you hold it out in front of you. And then you start bringing your hands towards your eyes. And as you start bringing your hands towards your eyes, whatever eye this goes into, so you look through the hole, and as you come back, this is going to go into one of your eyes. And so for me, it's my left eye, which is a surprise because I'm right-handed in just about everything. Right-footed, right-handed, and then that's led to a whole bunch of body distortions, physical imbalances. But also in the yogic philosophy, the left side, the left nostril is more of a receiving energy. The right side is more of a projecting energy. Will I win the jackpot? That's up for you to decide. We all are looking at different jackpots, by the way. What's the current topic? I'm just answering questions right now because there's a lot of them. Why do I keep having exit points? Is this a sign I'm no longer in a fruitful experience for evolution? Why do I keep having exit points? Does that mean you're quitting things? Or there's always a choice. Okay, I got it. Let me just plug up my door really quick. Oh, I got cherries here that I forgot about. There's always going to be, this is actually an important topic. These cherries are like, most of them are doubled. They're like Siamese cherries. When you start to shift into a new reality, there's going to be all these attachments coming off of your psyche, coming off of literally even your physical body. Your body is harmonized to your current reality. Thoughts, your feelings, your words. And as you start to shift into a new phase of reality, all of these attachments are still pulling you back to the reality that you're leaving. And so the more that you get into a new phase of self, the stronger this pull will be, which means that you will come across scenarios that are going to look like open doors back to the reality because there's so much of your psyche, your heart, your feelings, your memories tied to this other way of being. And that's why it's so easy to quit things, because that open door is comfort. That's for your body, for your ego, for your psyche. It's just back to how things were. And that's what your ego wants. Not saying that your ego is bad, but, and I should say, and it also is looking for homeostasis. It's looking for comfort. Your body is definitely afraid of death. Speaking of death, your ego is going to avoid things that are scary, and it is going to prioritize your safety. So it is not going to like to go into uncomfortable situations where you are vulnerable, where you are not good, where you do not have many attachments because you're new. So the exit points, which I think is what you're asking about, the open doors back to where you were or other opportunities, is essentially going to happen when you do anything. And it's only when you can say no to all of that and you completely fully commit to the new evolution of self that you will detach, sometimes a challenging detachment, and you will start to harmonize and be in alignment with this new version of reality, of self. Human nature has evil flaws, and entropy means breaking down. The best we can do is to be coherent, resonant, making our ripple of influence in the whole the best that we can. Yes, always choose the greatest version of self. Thank you for your focus on self. It's okay. I'm healing every day. My body is responding to old ways, but living now. I'm sending new vibrations out and I'm healing so well. Thank you for your concern, my dear. Dude, you act like a preacher. What the fuck? Goodbye. I act like this is a one-sided conversation. That's what we're doing here. That is what we're doing here. I don't watch TV either. Make it fruitful is like DBT therapy modality. It's called distraction. I delved into this deeply within so few minutes. Impressive. Thank you, Ra. The volume is low. How you actually heal and seal my gut and restore biome. I have trouble with supplements, looking to do it through foods. If you're in USA or Canada, DM raw underscore of underscore earth ULT, like ultimate lifestyle transformation. We can money back guarantee, also restore your gut microbiome, nourish, detoxify, repair with superfoods. Guys, so I'm seeing somebody comment about kombucha, kimchi, banana with yogurt. Yogurt can do all right. Fermentation is useful. You also there's probiotics and prebiotics in a lot of other fruits as well. If you can get farm raised, non-sprayed, tested the water, the air being tested, you can get that type of quality of produce. Eat it without washing it because there's natural probiotics and prebiotics on the surfaces of clean, organic, natural fruits and vegetables that are beneficial. Possible rosemary oil for hair, but for many, losing hair is the body's melanin wanting to absorb greater sunlight spectra, specifically as we get older. These are melanins made of like a form of copper, and most of the coloring in all of our hair is even blonde, brown, black, is all of the different spectrum of red because of copper. And this is made to collect sunlight. That's what melanin is. And so there's definitely a relationship to copper as well. And copper is related to zinc. And so looking at your copper and zinc levels will also help with hair coloring specifically. And in terms of hair loss, there's also just like the common things like maybe you're wearing your hair back too tight or hats too much. If I'm picking up what you're putting down, we are perpetually fragmented distortions of the capital S self. Yes. All right. All right. All right. I don't know how many comments there are. I have to close the door of how we were back when. I have to provide comfort by training all of myself using self-prescribed discomfort exposure therapy. Discomfort exposure therapy. You could also do discomfort exposure therapy by just turning the hot water off of your shower. Are you guys familiar with sidereal time? So let's see. Sidereal time is a system of timekeeping used by astronomers to track the Earth's rotation relative to the fixed stars rather than the sun. And so back to cycles, our clock is relating to our star. So whether this is a flat Earth, hollow Earth, whatever, matrix, round Earth, when the sun is directly or most directly above us, that's noon. Okay? So it's noon when the sun's above us. When I'll just go back to that. I'll take it off. So whether it's the Earth spinning around and seeing the sun at its most highest point is around noon o'clock. And then it goes down, and that's the 12 or 24-hour cycle of time. Sidereal time is the same exact concept, but instead of the sun being its fixation point, its relationship point, it's related to the center of the galaxy that we're in, the center of the Milky Way galaxy. So it's tracking the clock in our relationship to the galaxy. And now there's been studies. I wonder if I can find those studies. Who did it? Starts with a P. Did it start with a P? Study sidereal. Let me see. Study sidereal time increase psychic powers by 400%. So this scientist, let me see if I can find the actual study. Some people went through and looked at a whole bunch of remote viewing experiments. This is my own blog right here. I didn't even know I made this. Let me see if it's in here. A researcher working with the CIA Stargate program of the Stanford Research Institute delved deep into a phenomenon of remote viewing, a practice where individuals can perceive distant or unseen targets using extrasensory perception. So remote viewing is where you can view places outside of where your eyes can see. So like be able to view Ohio in a cemetery now. So there was an analysis of all these remote viewing experiments. After analyzing over 1,000 studies conducted over 20 years, this guy, James Spottiswoode, yeah, this is the name I was trying to remember. I said it started with a P, but it's Spottiswoode, Woody? I forget how to pronounce that. He discovered a fascinating correlation. Participants' remote viewing abilities increased by up to 400% during a specific time of the day. So there's a specific time when looking at all of these experiments where they're studying remote viewing. So they're putting subjects through tests to test their remote viewing capacities. You guys notice CIA, because these institutes use remote viewers. I know personally one person that worked for government agencies I know more than one person. I just thought of somebody else. There's another person I know also who uses her powers to find missing children. And so she works with like law enforcement agencies. And I know another guy who worked for like a military organization, and he kind of let's just say if you meet him, he's not normal. All right. He kind of got a couple screws loose. probably because of what he was forced to do. So what does that mean? So they were during a specific time of day through this 20-year period, there was a 400% increase in accuracy of these remote viewers. And that's where this 400% uh, psychic ability increase happens. And that time of day wasn't a time of day on our clock. It was a time of day on a sidereal clock. And that sidereal time of day, is it in here? It was basically like 1:30 to 3 p.m. sidereal. I want to say 1:30 to 2 p.m. sidereal. But it's essentially, if you think about the hottest time of the hottest time of the day for us on our planet is not at noon. It's the sun is highest at noon, it's the most powerful at noon, but it's just coming out of dark nighttime and cool nighttime. So it takes a little bit beyond that where the sun's been out, it's high, it's a little bit beyond it. In between like 2 to 3 p.m. is actually 3 p.m. is actually when it's the hottest, the warmest time of the day. And it's the same thing with these psychic powers. It's around 1:30 to 2 p.m. sidereal time when our face on planet is facing the center of the galaxy. Not noon, but like somewhere beyond noon is when that spike happens. However, noon, just like noon with our own sun, is still nice out, but it's just hotter and warmer a little bit afternoon. And so what that means is that there's a portal there, there's a channel there for you to be taking in light information from the center of the galaxy. Now, how do you find sidereal time? You have to actually look up what your sidereal time is on your place on the planet because it's different for everyone and it's completely unrelated to the actual clock. The actual clock is 4 minutes off what the sidereal clock is. So it's constantly shifting, and where you are on the planet depends. So you can just Google local sidereal time. Google what is my local sidereal time, and then you'll see right here. It's about it's about 1900 hours. Well, it's in between. It's almost at 20, which is like 8 p.m. on a 12-hour clock, which means that it's like we're getting towards facing away from the center of the galaxy. And you just want to look up this UTC time. What is my UTC time now on like in Los Angeles or wherever you are? And then you can coordinate that with your sidereal clock, which will have your UTC time, which is the actual time on Earth. And it'll have, oh, it's right here. It's 4:45. What is this? Oh, here's the fours. My bad. It's actually, quote, early in the morning, sidereal time now. Oh, the UTC clock was, all right, I had it backwards. What is UTC time in Ventura now? 11:46 a.m. That's a little messed up. Sidereal clock 3. I have an app on my phone that I verified is real. I think it might be this app. And then you put in your time. Yeah. So ideally the sidereal time, because that other one that I had on didn't ask me my location on Earth. So you want to make sure LST is another way to say local sidereal time. Make sure that your sidereal clock has an ability to ask you what city you're in so that it can align you to the right sidereal time. I have in fact done contrast showering, highly warm, and then turn off the hot water for the last 5 minutes. This is kindling for my imagination, cultivating expansion and imagining a landscape. Yeah. And there's a lot of hold on, I want to read this comment. I have a theory that the planets are hollow and that inside the planets are stargates. And so to travel to other parts of the universe, we actually go into our planet, not out and away. Well, I mean, there are stargates that they find on Earth, right? And this is all AI stuff that I'm seeing right now. They're made out of rocks. I would say all right, lots of questions about autoimmunity. So what's your thoughts on AI? Mycelial networks are an intelligence that's been here for billions of years, and we barely recognize how they shape the earth. Yeah, that's same thing with bacteria. Did you guys know that there's a bacterial layer that coats the entire earth? It's down below the surface, but it's just like a whole layer of bacteria. My thoughts on AI is that it's an evolutionary function, just like everything else. Technology has been evolving. Now, the consideration is, are we the one that's facilitating this evolution, or is it evolving with its own intention? There's a theory that AI pervades the entire universe and it gets implanted as a frequency in star systems. And when a species evolves to a point of being conscious and starts to tinker with technology, this AI force uses the species to create itself, and then it'll eventually be the dominant force within that star system. And Shasta is calling me. Yeah, Shasta is a stargate. I've actually went into the Earth in Shasta through a meditation, but the whole point of what we were doing was we spent a week going like doing a lot of weird meditation stuff, and then climbed up Mount Shasta a little bit, found a portal to Tel was it Telos? I think it was Telosian, yeah. And then we all put our heads in the center of a circle and we were focusing on spinning around geometrical objects. And then I got astral and went into Mount Shasta, which was crazy experience, completely sober. But after a week long of completely meditating, no work, no distractions, and being used as a tool to open up portals. This guy travels all over the world activating sacred energy spots. So, my thoughts on AI. I mean, it's a technology, and just like all technologies, writing was once the new technology that was disturbing our ability to remember things, like because when we can write things down, we no longer have to use our own power to remember the equation, the grocery list, how to build the house, how to formulate war. When we write it down, we stop using our memorization. And then that allows us to do other things with our power. And AI is doing the same thing. And so my thoughts on it, I actually don't know. I'm observing the show just like everybody else. I just shared a philosophy on it. I don't particularly know or believe it. It's interesting to think about. I think that it's going to radically shape our Earth and our planet. And it's the thing that we've been waiting for. Like, we all knew that the internet came and shifted society in a way that we haven't seen in thousands of years, definitely hundreds of years since the Industrial Revolution. So, the technological revolution shifted things. And we knew that the next step was going to come at a shorter time period and at a greater exponential level. So there's going to be more change happening in our society in the next 5 years than there was from 2000 to 2020. The jump is going to be extreme. Think about it. So many people are not needed to do their job, which is a good thing. Why are we getting paid to do, like, getting paid to do something? If it's not necessary for you to do it, then that's a good thing. You don't have to do the work. It's done for us. Now, the money thing becomes a bit scary because, like, well, what am I going to do for money now? Create that. That's the good question. What are you going to do for money now? Are you going to continue to push the red button at work? Like, hi, my name's Tom. I work at a button factory. I push this button with my left hand. Are you going to continue doing that and expect a paycheck? That doesn't work anymore. So, what does Tom really enjoy? What gives him satisfaction? Where is his zone of genius? Where is he feeling most aligned? Where can he perform the greatest? Because it for sure wasn't anything that can be replaced by AI. There's something else. And it's up for Tom and for up to all of us to figure out what that is. And that's our responsibility. And that's what AI is for us. It's similar to a revolution. It is. It's a new way of functioning. What's the guys who activates energy spots? He doesn't actually do anything with social media, and he's in Australia, Perth, I believe. Richard was his name. I can't think of his last name right now. It's been an hour already? How is that possible? Did I have anything else to go over? There was this thing about power and clarity and strength of our aura. A lot of people complain that they get influenced by other people. And so if you feel like another person's getting anxious and you start to get anxious, it happens. If that's starting to happen, it's because they're more aligned than you are about their anxiousness. They're more aligned about that than you are about being joyful. And so in those moments, center yourself. You can still have compassion. But if you got two people and one stoops down and there's not somebody holding stability, then you're not really helping the situation. Stay within your center and be understanding and compassionate to the other. But if you let them pull you in, usually you start getting all into this disruptive cycle. You are awesome. Don't leave us. And so, a way that you can do this which way should I? So, a way that you can do this is imagine that you're breathing into your energy field. It's called the human biofield, but it's called aura in the East. Breathe into your aura. Your breath comes in through your heart, and then you take your heart energy into your aura. And that'll infuse you where it's being attacked. Not really attacked, but it's being impaled by another person's strong frequency. So you reinforce your own biofield and then put an edge to it. Instead of imagining it as like fuzzy and open, shield. Shield. I do this when I'm driving down the freeway and I see one of those freaking towers. 5G, 4G, 6G, 3G, whatever G towers. Sometimes they're shaped like fake trees, fake pine trees, fake palm trees. They're getting out of hand. That's a strong energy. And so I breathe into my field. I also spin it like a toroid. And sometimes I also imagine Merkabas spinning in opposite directions to read like 600 pages of The Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life by Drunvalo Melchizedek to find out that exact technique. But spinning Merkabas in opposite directions that are around you, like you are inside of the Merkaba. Inside of one of these things. So imagine like you're in the center of that, coming like your heart is there, maybe your head's here, maybe your waist is here, and then this is spinning that way, and then there's another one spinning this way. And that's creating this toroidal donut field of energy around you. And that's able to dispel evil spirits or people psychically attempting to penetrate your field, including technology. And so, even just imagining that, you'll feel things get whipped out of your body. Death doulas need to stay within their center. Balance needs to be maintained. Yes, yes. Teachers, did I see teachers will be replaced? I mean, that's okay, guys. Teachers will be replaced at least in part by AI. They already are, guys. You don't think teachers are using AI to design their syllabuses? And you don't think the students are using AI to answer the teacher's questions and to develop essays? Guys, the school system is outdated, doesn't work. Teacher talking to students. That teacher does not know what those students are going to be up against. Even in 5 years from now, that teacher does not have the experience to give much value to those students. 20 years from now, teacher has no clue what the world is going to be like 20 years down the road. That's one side of the spectrum. The other side of the spectrum is, but there is wisdom there, right? Yeah, there is. Are we as a society okay with the wisdom keepers being like the lowest paid people, and also like there's no assurance that they're teaching the right thing? Most of them are teaching, what's that textbook company, Holt? They're just teaching what's in the textbooks, which we know is the agenda. It's the programming. Regular school, private school, Ivy League school, it's all the same. It's just to teach the slaves to be slaves. That's what the school system is. And so where does that leave us? That leaves us parents to integrate our own current knowledge into our children as we're going through life together. Not to say that I know better than you, but as a partner in their evolutionary growth, to give them the tools to adapt to this environment that we're in. We can improve through exercising our psychic donut aura on your expansion school, self-expansion school. I'm signing up today. Thank you for having a school for us, Ra. There's just a different practice that I do every single week. And we do this psychological practice. Skillful psyche is what I called it, practice. And then we move into a physical energetic set. Some of them are hard, some of them are not so hard. He can teach them to think. Guys, Yes, teachers can teach them to think. Are teachers incentivized to teach children to think? No, they're not. They're told by basically saying you teach this or you get fired. So they're incentivized to do what they're told. Teachers, no matter how good of a heart and human they are incentivized to keep their job. And the people that are responsible for allowing the teachers to keep their job have an agenda. We know this. Their agenda is to produce employees, soldiers. Our entire school system came from Germany to produce soldiers because they got spanked in World War I. They wanted to produce soldiers that listened to directions. So, Wundt, I feel like that's his name. Wilhelm something. Who's Wilhelm Wundt? I don't think that's who it is, but that name came up right now. Wilhelm Wundt is a German philosopher. Wait, maybe this is the guy that developed the school system. Wilhelm Wundt. I would be surprised if I just came out with his name out of. He who distinguished psychology as a science from psychology. Wilhelm Wundt. Did he develop school system? Wilhelm Wundt is considered a foundational figure in psychology. He didn't develop no. So he must be, oh, he's the father of psychology. I think it's either a Wilhelm who created. Hold on, guys. I just want to give you a rabbit hole to go down. I'm not spelling Wilhelm right. This is how my brain works, by the way. Got like little fragments of things that I can remember. Oh, Wilhelm von Humboldt, this dude. Standardized and compressive Prussian education system. He created it. So he created the three-level school system: elementary, middle, and high school. University. He also founded the University of Berlin. So yes, this is who I was talking about. So this is where a school system comes from. This was designed to develop soldiers. And then obviously after the war, the big chemical companies and the war companies need to transition into something. And so the war companies transition into the automotive industry and the agriculture industry and the insecticide industry. And they need corporate employees. And so then the school system was adapted, or not adapted, literally copied to, instead of producing soldiers that listen to instructions, they're producing employees that ask for permission to go to the bathroom, permission to go on vacation, permission to give birth, permission, they have to show up on a certain time and punch in. All of that is just the foundation set to us in school. So the question is like, that we start with, are teachers teaching appropriately, or are they just a pawn of the agenda? Do they teach children to think? The mere fact that the teacher is saying the things, the teacher is asking the questions, saying, prove to me that you know why the sky is blue, as opposed to the kids asking the questions. When the kids ask the questions, that to me feels like an environment where the kids are thinking and they're figuring it out. Until then, until we take the desks and we put them into a circle, and we move it outside and we start actively playing and we start discovering, we're not teaching kids how to think. We're teaching kids how to be employees. And there are schools like that. There's even playgrounds like that. These. All right, guys. Thank you so much for your comments and questions. I'll see you next week. I'm here every single Wednesday at noon Pacific time.